Hey, Warrior Saints, good morning. Happy Tuesday, Crucifixional live stream. Welcome. Glad to see all of you beautiful people. Welcome, Greg. Glad to see you. I just walked in, had an appointment with a perspective or a catechumen, a new person coming to join the church, and I'm late. Love you. God bless you. I wanted to take an opportunity again to thank all of those beautiful people who have ordered our new book, The Way of the Warrior Saint, How to Live a Crucifixional Life. You can find it at warriorsaints.org/book. And I'm thankful. Many people have, we've had to reprint. I didn't expect this. So it is, it's from my heart. I appreciate you people. Now here's why I want all of you to get it. Because Lent in the Orthodox Church will begin on March 15, Monday, March 15th. And on that day, for the next 40 days, we are going to begin the Warrior Saints Challenge. And what we're going to expect from everybody is, number one, to read one chapter a day. They're like 5 pages, 6 pages the longest. Read one chapter, and on our social media feeds, whether it's at Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, or Gab, we want you to write something about that chapter that resonated in your life. And I'm going to respond to them if I can, if they're necessary responses. The team will. Somebody will respond and say, like, let's have a conversation about whatever it is in this chapter. The second part is, and take me seriously, I expect you to get your you-know-what off the couch and exercise every day. On the same social media feeds, I want you to tell me, what exercise did you do? I don't care if it's one sit-up, one push-up, or you ran 5 miles. I want to hear about it. The challenge is to get our hearts and minds and our bodies during Lent into a good place, into the right place, drawing closer to Christ, becoming crucifixional. So that's the challenge. To do it, you got to have the book. To get the book, you got to go to warriorsaints.org. All right? So, all of you beautiful people, take it seriously. Let's have fun with it. It's going to be fun. Will there be a reward at the end? There's a prize? I don't know. The prize is that you become a better person. That's all. That's it. That's the best prize anyways. That being said, you know what is going on in this world? Holy cow. I spend a lot of time trying to stay away from the news. And the reason why I do that, whether it's on social media or the news outlets direct, is because every single day somebody's offended by something that somebody said or did. And if something is offensive, they try to cancel people, shut them down, lock them out of their lives, destroy careers, destroy reputations. Like, all of that kind of stuff happens when people get offended. And as I think about being offended, I'm at a loss for why that has become such a thing. And I'll tell you my theory on it. In days gone by, all right, so look at it like this. In the ancient world, and even to this day, young boys children are raised by the women of the tribe. So this is just like an ancient, this is factual stuff. This isn't me making this up. Young boys were raised by women until they were weaned, and then they were sent to the men. And the men in the tribe or the clan would teach the boys the arts of, whatever they were, like whether it was, what are the guys? The blacksmiths, who would make all of the iron and the metal, whatever, farming, all of those, like physical, they would teach them. And then at some point they would send them out into the forest and say, it's time to become a man. I don't care if you're 12. Get out there and live. And if you can make it back, you're a man. And if you don't make it back, it was nice knowing you, right? And that's how life was lived. And with that being said, boys were strong. They became men, right? And as men become strong, they create good times. And if you think about in the past maybe 80 years, the men of our times, after the Second War, put into process good times, right? But the cycle, as good men, strong men, create good times, because things are good, start to create weak men. Now, because men are weak, they in turn create hard times. And then hard times again, in turn, create strong men. And the cycle continues. I think we have been so blessed because of strong men and women before us, right? I use the word men to mean strong, ferocious warrior saints, not gender necessarily. But strong men have created a great time. And we're now seeing that because of that good times, men, they weren't necessary. We have made men not necessary. And what is the result of it? Hard times. And the cycle is about to start again. In fact, I would say it has started again. All of that rambling to say this, that in the good times when men have become weak, we are also distraught and destroyed if someone offends us. And I say to you, that's a you problem, right? It's time to man up. Stop being so darn offended. Like, so what? Somebody said something offensive. Somebody said something that you didn't agree with. Big deal, right? Like, look, I'm going to be crass, forgive me, but I'm Lebanese and a Christian and a priest, right? So what am I? Because I'm Lebanese, I must be, a Muslim terrorist. I've been called that. Because I'm a Christian, I'm therefore oppressive and ignorant and non-scientific. And because I'm a priest, I molest little boys, right? So you can see all of these things that I've been called all of that. I've never molested a little boy. I totally believe in science. I'm not oppressive. I work hard to set people free, and I'm a Lebanese Christian, right? Come on, man. But you know what? People say those things, and okay, you know what has never happened to me when people say those terrible things? I died. I never died. I never died from it. And I know some of you right now are out there and saying, Father, you're treading on thin water because it's these use of words that have oppressed people over time. I get it. I get it. Please don't write that on my feed. I don't need to hear that today. I understand that you're going to say that. It's because you're saying that because the words that I say make you uncomfortable and you're feeling offended, right? That's the whole point. You understand? Instead of being offended by other people's words, as stupid and as silly as their words may be, let's find the internal fortitude within ourselves to be strong through them. Do you understand that? That's my message. Listen not to Father Chris, but to God in Holy Scripture that I'm going to read to you from the book of Proverbs, coming from chapter 19. This beautiful, beautiful text where we hear God say, "Good sense makes a man slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense." Powerful, right? Good sense makes a man slow to anger. So when someone says something offensive, why do we immediately erupt and react, right? Those people who are getting frustrated with this conversation, it's because I know why you're frustrated. It's because the world has told you that you have to react, and because I'm oppressive, and that's people, that this kind of thinking has led to the squashing of other communities and races and cultures for generations. No, that's not the case. They tell you that, you regurgitate it because you don't think. I'm telling you, good sense, says God, makes a man slow to anger and recognize that you can overlook an offense. Because guess what? Tomorrow, someone else will offend you. Oh, and by the way, on Thursday and Friday, someone will offend you again. And do you know when offensive people will go away? Never, right? The point I'm making is what? The point is that we will always encounter people who say rotten things and people who try to do rotten things. And you can allow it to consume you so that you react and get involved in it, or you can overlook it and grow as a man or a woman, recognizing that, look, there are offensive people in the world. And the second part of it is, look, not everything matters. Not everything is of value that I give to it. Just because Facebook tells me I need to assign value to this doesn't mean that I have to assign value to it. Do you understand? Listen further. The Apostle Paul, he's really going to push this. He's going to say to the Corinthian Christians, not just like Proverbs says, to overlook an offense. He's going to tell us, Paul is going to tell us something even stronger. Listen to this in 1 Corinthians chapter 6. No. What is it? 6 what? 7. Yes, sorry. Chapter 6, verse 7. To have lawsuits at all with one another is defeat for you. So here he's talking about Christians that would, offend or get upset or do some type of a wrong to another Christian in the community of Corinth, and they would sue. That's what he's talking about. They would have a lawsuit. And it's defeat for you, he says. Why not? Listen, here's tough. Americans don't like this, but this is the Apostle Paul bringing thunder. Why not rather suffer wrong? So not only overlooking an offense, but Paul is telling us we should rather suffer the wrong, right? In some sense, he's saying in this weird way, embrace and grow from someone offending you. Because in that, and here's the thing, here's what I found, that when people say things that are offensive to me and hurt me and deliberately try to strike out at me, when I give that credence and attention, It haunts me. But when I dismiss it and overlook it and recognize the weakness of the other person, I'm able to move along quickly and freely. Freely. Now I'm going to end with a true story. I'm not going to say any names, but it is a true story. There was a time in our parish months ago where we had a COVID, not outbreak, that's not the right word, but a bunch of people had gotten COVID, and we think that they got them while they were in church. And one of the people that got them was sick and ended up in the hospital and is fine, thanks be to God. I want to be careful how I say it, but I'm just going to say it because I love. So someone connected to that person wrote me a scathing email, this long, arrogant, obnoxious email, and cited a bunch of things, and criticizing me and the church, our parish here. I'm not going to tell you what the person said, but it was pretty egregious. And as I read it, I was like, all right, look, this is factually not correct. This is factually not correct. You cited this, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, and on and on and on. And I got angry, and I was ready to, believe me, I had this beautiful, eloquent, scathing rebuttal of all of this person's, criticisms. And as I thought about it more, I was like, wait a minute. The facts of this statement are wrong. Why then would the person write it? Why would the person write it? Because the person is afraid that the person they know who got it and went into the hospital is going to die. And they're afraid. And they're not able to admit that they're scared. They're not able to just honestly say to me, Father, I'm raging right now because I'm afraid for the life of this person. And I thought, well, if they can't be honest with themselves, forget me, but honest enough with themselves to say that that's really the reason, then there's nothing I can do and nothing I'm going to say in this rebuttal that will help that person. I will only make it worse. And so when I wrote back exactly this. Do you understand? The point I'm making is not to say, look at me, because I'm nothing. But I recognize by God's grace that the issues that this person had, they weren't even being honest with themselves about it. I can't fix that. And so all of this offensive language in the email that they sent me, it's wrong, not factual, incorrect. Why get into it? Do you understand? Overlooking an offense. And I'll tell you something. I've come to this conclusion. I love that person. I'm not really interested in that person and the silliness that came with it, but I love them. And if they came here today standing in front of me and were dying, I would die in their stead. But I don't have to allow that offensive assault against me, incorrect as it was, to consume me. And I recognize that the person was afraid for their loved one. And that even in spite of that, they weren't able to be honest with themselves about that. That's a sadness. It brought a sadness to my heart. And so rather than engage and go back into it, I suffered the wrong. Because I realized it really doesn't matter. That the soul of that person who is suffering inside, that's what matters. And to respond tit for tat would only make a mess. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so I think the point I want to impart, and I'm going to end here. Look, it's a world that's filled with offensiveness right now. It's the nouveau chic trend is to offend people or to call someone out who's been offensive. What I'm saying is, fine, let the world do that. It creates the chaos that's out there, but you want to be a warrior saint. You want to be a ferocious woman or man who follows Christ. Great. Overlook an offense. Suffer the wrong. Endure it, because in the end it doesn't matter, and because in the end you are looking and thinking to be different. You don't want to be like everybody else. Everybody else is suffering. We're trying to transcend through our suffering. Do you understand? All right, ramble over. Did I make some kind of a point, Greg? I mean, I know I was feisty. You know what? That's what happens when you come in late. What's that? I did. All right. He's good to me. He's gracious. And I talked for a long time. I love you. Thank you for enduring me today. But remember, I say it to you out of love because most things don't matter. Don't let an offense rile you up. Just overlook it and move on so that you can produce good and become the warrior saints that you're supposed to. I love you. We will be back tomorrow at the same time, talking about the same and yet different things, good things about Jesus, about becoming a warrior saint, living a crucifixional life. In the interim, Remember the challenge that's coming. Get the book, warriorsaints.org/book, because starting on March 15, every day we're going to read a chapter, and I want to hear from you about what chapter you read and what insights you took from it. And get your running shoes out, baby, because we're going to get to work. Love you, beautiful people. We will see you tomorrow, and until then, as always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.